what's good, Biotalk? So we just watched Mask of Light. This is my roommate, Andrew.
What's up, guys? Metru Nui.
You knew Bionicle toys, but you'd never seen the movie, right?
No, honestly, I feel like I had like a few of the sets early, but I never was really that into like the lore or anything like that. I feel like I kind of just ended up with them. Obviously, like I had a few of the iconic first sets.
Yeah, Paco's your favorite. Yeah, so I decided to show him the movie and kind of get his first opinions on it. Of course, I've seen it 100 times. But I've been showing Andrew a lot of the lore and like kind of getting him into it. It's very hard, especially if you're not willing to like read all the books and everything. But as far as just the movie goes, you know, it's 2003, animation's like okay and everything. I guess my first question is like if you had any overall thoughts of like how it kind of came together.
Yeah, no, I thought it was pretty. I mean, I thought it was good. I exceeded my expectations.
Yeah,
for sure. I know it's a kid show, but I almost wanted to be like a little bit, the animation to be a little like the fighting felt like had these epic powers, but you never really got to see them because like obviously they can't fight or be violent. We were learning about that with like originally you're supposed to knock their heads off. That was the idea, but now it's just take the masks off. But it was cool. I mean, some of the shots were really well done, and then some were just really bad. But that's how it goes. And one thing I thought was kind of weird is like, you feel like if you were watching that movie, you kind of had to have an understanding of what's been going on before because it picks up a little bit.
I guess in a way,
like they come out of their canisters or whatever.
I showed you a bit of recap of kind of what's been going on, like with the island and everything so far. Dropping right into the movie, what would you say your like understanding of like Bionicle is just after this movie?
Well, it's kind of spoiled because you told me the true meaning of Bionicle, which is all about pills in the body. I would say
in which ways did it do a good job?
Okay job with that. I feel like there's still there's a lot of things I don't understand about like the powers and like they don't do a great job of explaining who's who or what's what or really giving besides the opening where they give like the Lord of the Rings like, oh, here's the creation story. It doesn't do an amazing job, but it does an okay job with the characters. With the two kids, at least, I had an understanding of like their struggle and like
the two kids. They
seem like kids. Like, they're smaller, but I know it's like they're not.
Andrew has a thing where it's like it's weird. He thinks it's weird how they're like midgets basically, but their heads are the same size.
Right?
I can see that.
It's kind of strange because like the elders they shrink, right?
Yeah, they become the size of villagers.
No, but understanding of the world was I mean, pretty good, I would say. There's still like a lot of questions and things that I don't think they like do a amazing job at addressing.
15 minutes.
But it does a cool job, I think. At least with explaining like who is the bad guy in this world and understanding like who are the villain characters like the Rocky or whatever. Like
Rocky,
now I know more about that and like what the sets were when they're coming out, what they correlate to, and like
I will say there's a little more lore and history and probably in the second one. This one is very much just like it's a story of like
the story of the seventh Toa, really. That's what it's about.
Like these two guys on a journey to like find where the destiny is.
It's like they're expecting the viewer to already have known. Were the sets out at this point?
Okay. This came out fall 2003, September 17th, 2003. So we'd had all the comics leading up to it. All the sets had been released. And then right when the beginning of the movie starts, the comic stopped. And so the next comic that came out in like October was right after all this. And Vakama tells them, you weren't the first Toa, and then it's like prequel.
Oh, so people didn't know that before.
No.
Because that's what I was asking Zach the whole time. I was like, it's cyclical, right? Like, it's like this story that keeps happening over and over again through generations.
This movie's like Lord of the Rings a lot. What do you think?
What's up? This movie takes a lot from Lord of the Rings, Pretty much the whole move.
What?
Just kidding. Not the whole move. Well,
pretty much all of it.
Finds mask, sets them on quests, similar to Ring. Two guys, young guys, inexperienced.
There's language on the mask.
Right, they have to
take it to the elders to read.
Accepting your responsibility, you know what I mean? Coming into your own.
They separate.
Yeah. I mean, I get why that was the story they chose to do in the movie. I guess it's compelling.
Like Vakama knows that Takua is going to become.
It's like relatable to
Toa,
kids,
but he's like lets him go still.
Yeah.
And like Frodo, he knows Frodo's gonna like die or like go to the mountain, but he just tells him no still. And their hobbits are like short people.
Right?
Matoran are just short villagers. I realized the movie came out in 2003, so actually
I
it
feel
did
like
come
I
out 2
had
years
that
after.
little guy, the main character who's the same mask as
Takua?
this. Yeah.
Maybe.
I feel like
it was
did they not
McDonald's.
sell- Yeah, no, that's where I got it. That was 100% it.
What were like some of the like strengths in production wise? I guess like there's music, there's animation. Like what are some of the things? Strengths
I think
and
the music
weaknesses?
was probably pretty good. To listen to the credits with the drums going.
Yeah,
it's
kind of like
great.
less Airbender music.
Yeah, the music is pretty good. I think the design, I think they did a really good job with the design of the Bionicles for the most part, except the faces were a little bit lacking, but like it's very hard, I feel like, to take
Animate
like
a mask.
this and animate it to make it look and emote like a human. So, but I think they did a good job with like not making them so robotic. Like they had a very human like structure where you can still get behind it. And then I think I liked what's his name?
There's Kopaka.
I like Kopaka.
Yeah, what were your
a
thoughts
lot.
on all the Toa
I
comparison?
mean, Kopaka's the best by far. I was telling Zach that like he's the only one who deals with things in the movie, pretty much. He's the only one who can defeat the Rocky.
He's never defeated by Rocky at all.
He takes 3 of them on at once and just crushes it.
It's something that I never really realized is a lot of the Toa like fail a lot.
I think a lot of the close-ups were good, but some of like the action struggled. Like yeah. The action was not very great, but the more intimate moments I thought were not bad.
You could tell they had minimal assets, like unless it was in the Koli Stadium with a bunch of Matoran, the villagers. It's like wide shots.
I think it's
would
really
have,
hard
like, 6
to do.
or 7.
I think it's hard to do action when you can't like have the characters really attacking each other. Like, you know what I mean? They never really attack each other.
It gets close in the 3rd movie, definitely.
Yeah.
But they're also fighting like these spider creatures, so they're allowed to just toss them around.
Right, they're less human-like or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting. How like in the beginning he uses his fire ability to like trap them, and I was like, wait, why is he not attacking him? And he's like, oh, he's being trapped.
They do it in the comics.
Yeah, I'm sure they were like a little bit more cautious because like, you know, general big movie audience, they don't want to do any violence, have many kids see it as possible. Where in the comics, I feel like that's probably was more of the older Bionicle audience.
It was totally straight to DVD. It was like one of the number 2 or number 1 VODs.
I mean, yeah, dude. It's like you're releasing a kids VOD movie in the height of like VOD. You know, what was that? 2001.
2003.
Yeah, everyone was all about DVDs.
And it was the biggest like year for Bionicle, really.
Yeah, and I was more into the minifigures, I think, than like the action figures. But it is cool. Like I was telling Zach it is a really bold thing that like Lego did, and they pulled it off. So which is like still like I look back on it, and it almost still doesn't make sense. Like it's so out there, and like the designs are so crazy, and it seems like such a departure from like everything we know as Lego now and what it has been. But it like worked out really well for them. Another thing that I learned now is that the blue Toa is female.
You still never knew that? You learned that today?
In the movie, yeah. No, I mean, it doesn't look like, you know, I mean, they don't do a great job, like...
Yeah, in the movie you were saying, like, the design makes her look a little more like female.
Definitely.
And you have a voice, so...
The Toa kind of like bounced around. Like there was no real sense of geography. Like they were just like going to all these places. Like, you know, in Lord of the Rings, like they do a great like pan over the maps. They show you the world. Like I wish that they had done a better job like depicting the island and showing you like the journey and where people are going.
Like from a wide like zoom out.
Yeah, right. To like see the island a little bit more would have been nice.
Dude, right? I agree.
Because then the Toa, they like bounce around. Like they're here in one moment, all of a sudden they're in this. They just like, I mean, they're kind of used as a plot device, but yeah.
That is something to think about.
I think that would have been cool. Like, I guess the movie's kind of a hard entry for somebody who doesn't know that much, because like what I would have liked to know is about like all the tribes and like, you know, where they live and things like that. And they kind of jumped in, recap. But they chose like the 7th Toa, so you know, I guess that was their story.
It would have been, but it's honestly, it's just the thing is there was time constraints. Apparently, like someone who was in my live chat the other day, who's like a nephew of one of the directors or the people that was worked on the movie. They like had another at least 15-20 minutes of like kind of world building going around the island, but for time constraints they wanted it at an hour, you know, an hour and then credits, and like that's just kind of their rule.
Yeah, I mean that's a mistake, you know. I don't know.
I don't like, right? I mean, how much if they had the assets and the animations, what was really I think no matter what, a kid would have sat down for an hour and a half and still watched the movie.
It's a very normal length for a movie. In fact, an hour is pretty short for like a feature length film.
Yeah, but it's also like video on demand kids movies were always an hour 10 min actually.
Probably fits the model.
And like think about it, they show it on TV like a Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon. You need that 1 hour time slot.
Yeah, that's true.
Where like and then the credits hit, but you know it goes really quick because they're like it's in a corner of the screen and they're saying what's coming up next.
Yeah.
You know, like you turn.
That is
those,
true. I don't think about that, but I think a little bit of more world building would have been better for an entry viewer, and might have gotten people. But I feel like most of the people watching probably already knew most of the lore.
Even as a kid, I had a problem with the fact that like I knew everything.
Yeah. But
like I would have appreciated even for myself, but also like as for good conscience, but also like for anyone watching to really spend like 10 minutes, 8 minutes, maybe even 6, just like really besides the kind of like creation story, which is like a classic thing they always do in Bionicle, but like after the creation story even or before, like just like a tour of the island really quickly and explaining the tribes and everything. It's the Tonuv actually have their asses beat quite a lot.
Yeah, they kind of sucked in this movie, I'm not gonna lie, except for Kapaku, you know.
Yeah, Kapaku killed it. It's just a creative direction, but the point is like when they're all together, they can combine their powers, and then
they all T-pose together, and then all of a sudden they're super strong.
Yeah, that's literally it. That happens in all of the movies. It's the same thing with like Power Rangers.
Yeah, I like the little Venom side plot though. I thought that was fun.
Oh, Tahu turning evil.
Yeah. I think it would have been interesting if it was like more implications and like there was like he stayed evil for the move and then there was like a whole thing they carried into the second move. You know, that would have been cool. Like a cliffhanger, you know.
Dude, that's the thing. That's like
you
don't see these characters ever really until like 2008, and then it's just like commercial animations, comic books, and like the novels.
Yeah.
No movies, you know. I think that was another problem of why there was a fall off with Bionicle is they decided to do a prequel for 2 years with characters that like just kind of average Bionicle fans didn't recognize. And then in 2006, this is 2004, 2005, 2006, they once again just kind of did new Toa characters. In the story, these guys come back. The Toa Nuva at the end of this movie come back. They get their asses handed to them threefold of what happened in this movie by the Paraka, which are these nutty warlord-like characters.
Those are the ones with like the weird, like
spines
the really
and big teeth.
Yeah, they're cool looking. I remember those sets.
Yeah, right before the underwater year. But like they came back in the story, but if you were just a mainstream kind of average Bionicle fan, you still had no idea. And you were like, who are these new people? What happened to Tahu, Kopaku? What happened to all these people?
And they didn't tell them what happened? No, they just like...
In like the novels, but not in the comics even, and not in...
Well, they just cut away from it? They were like, okay, that story's done, and we're going to just go to the prequel now? Is that what they did?
That's what they did right after this movie came out for 2004 and 5. It's Vakama, the Turaga, the village elders.
They should have made one of them go bad, you know, new villain. Could have been cool.
That's, I think, a big problem. But the reason why the writer, Greg Farsty, like went back in time to show that is because it helps with a lot of the world building. Not even in just the movie, but it explains to you a lot of the history and how things got to where they are, which sets up 2006.
Right.
Which is like, this begins the search for the Mask of Life, and it's like Metru Nui's dying and everything, and like, it's a whole nother thing. But like the Toa Nuva are in it, but you have to read the books. You have to have been really hardcore. And I think they should have tried harder. And I don't think it would have been impossible to like push that the Toa Nuva are still out there and a part of it. Because I think it would have kept more fans interested, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would have been more interesting if they had done like something about cyclical, like in inherited memories and like seeing into the future, you know? Like
they do have that in the books.
That's they didn't explore that really.
Just like casual fans assumed it was just rebooting every 2 or 3 years, you know, and they were like...
I mean, I had no idea. I feel like I saw just new Bionicle sets come on. At a certain point, I just...
You're like, oh, good versus evil, whatever.
I didn't even know that. I was like, I didn't even know who the good guys or the bad guys. Like, I feel like I got the ones that go like this, and I didn't even know they were bad guys, you know?
You didn't know.
Other than the fact that they kind of look like, you know, like a little menacing.
Yeah.
I did have some of those knights, though.
Yeah, I guess you also had to be subscribed to Lego magazine so you could get the comics, and then read the comics, go on the website. It was a lot of going out of your way. for
But it's cool that
kids.
they built that for, the fans and things like that.
Bionicle, they're not even Bionicle. Bionicle means biological chronicle. It's like the name of the story.
Yeah.
Like they don't even the only time Bionicle the word is used is when Vakama tells stories. He goes, "This is the way of the Bionicle. This is the story of the Bionicle."
Yeah.
They actually themselves are their Toa or their Matoran or Taraga. They're beings. They're not. They're actually not called Bionicle.
Yeah.
It's kind of insane. The biological chronicle is not even like a description. It's more of just it's the story title.
Right.
Like Lord of the Rings, it's called Bionicle. It's Lord of the Rings, or Star Wars, It's like if people were playing with Star Wars toys and they were like, "Yo, how many Star Warses do you have at home?" That's technically what it would sound like.
Right. Final thoughts. I'm excited to watch the second one. You were hyping it up. You were telling me that it's maybe better than the first one.
A lot of people think it's better.
I'm sure the animation. How many more years?
Just the next year. It's
so
same
the
animation.
is not that much better.
But they built the city and the island a little better. It's a kind of a futuristic, which is nuts because it's a prequel, but that's the whole point.
But they lose all this technology. You're telling me about that. Yeah.
Kind of like Dune.
Yeah.
In just a small way of there was a bunch of tech, and then now they're kind of back to barbaric with a little tech, which is like what we saw in this movie. It goes back. It focuses on the Toa. It's not about Matoran, the villagers.
It would have also been cool to see more I'm sure it's in the comics infighting. I want to see the tribes fighting. You know what I mean? I feel
a little bit of that.
It'd be cool to explore some of the other villains.
They give each other stuff here and there. There's villager bad guys, a couple of them that are sketchy and stuff. But
no, I'm excited to watch the second
movie. Yeah.
Maybe it'll flesh out the world a little bit more for me.
It fleshes out the world that they're in, but the Bionicle world at large still, you're going to have a bunch of questions. All three movies still, I would say, literally just scratch the surface, unfortunately.
Yeah. Maybe that's kind of the way it was designed, too. It is supposed to be a little mysterious,
And you're, supposed to go out of your way to read the other material to make the company money,
Right.
You have to buy the books, buy the comics, buy all this shit. But,
collect it all.
The second one, some people like the most because, in a way, it gets into characters the most. And it kind of in my opinion, I think is a little deeper. And then the third one is nuts. It's just balls to the wall, crazy shit.
Cool. Yeah, I'm excited to watch them.
All right, that's it.